YouTube, it's Brian Proctor back again with another video, and today's video is on inking. Now, I know there are a few people out there, a number of people out there that are pretty good with drawing, but their weakness is inking. So I decided to do a video on inking to show you what I know. Now, out of all the skills I have, I would say my weaknesses, or my weakest one, would probably be inking, and then perspective. But I do know enough to get by. So what I know, I'm going to teach you. Now, there's probably hundreds of ways to ink, but I'm going to show you what I know so you can implement that into your drawings. As I said, you know, as that would be my weakest skill, is inking. A professional inker would just, you know, laugh, but you don't have a professional inker teaching you. They're not doing this on their channels. I am, so I'm going to teach you what I know. So, right away, inking can either make a drawing or break a drawing, because I remember when I did a drawing a while back, I gave it to some guy who said that he could ink and just killed it. He just killed the drawing and never finished it and just sent it back unfinished because he just didn't have the time. So it's best to know as much as you can if you're doing a book, so you don't have to rely on anybody. So I'm going to start inking this and show you things that I know and tell you things that I know as we go along. So first of all, let me fix the focus on this camera so it won't keep jumping up and down like it likes to do. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you already have your pencil drawing, and I don't know, if I said it or not, this is just a quick drawing of Cyclops. Because, why not? Because it has a lot of black in it too. So I want to show you how I ink stuff with a lot of black and stuff without a lot of black, but I did this one to get started. So the first thing you want to do is, I'll usually use 0.5 because, or 0.5, because just like drawing, you want to have a nice point on your pencil, and the same thing for your pen. So I don't know if I'm gonna speed this up or not, but I'm going to do it. So the first thing you want to do is do your outlines, and always turn your paper when you ink. Now, I see a lot of people out there that don't turn their paper, and I wish I could do that, but I can't. So always turn your paper when you ink. It makes it a lot easier to pull than to push your line. So I'm just going to do the outline for now. And I guess I probably will speed it up, but I think there might be some things that I want to talk about as I'm doing it, which is what I don't know at this particular point in time, because I have so many lines in here from the pencils, red pencil, and regular pencil, which was is a H2 if I'm not mistaken. Somebody asked me what type of pencil do I use, and if I do use a pencil, it's probably an H2, because it's very light, and you don't want a dark pencil, so if you have to erase, you'll end up smearing it to death. So that's one thing you don't want. And I told them that it doesn't matter what type of pencil you use, because it really doesn't, as long as you can erase it when you need to erase. So I did this the other day, and I'm having trouble seeing where my lines are. Because a lot of it's going to be black anyway, but still, you want to be able to see where your lines are. And if I do this in fast motion, all you would see is constantly doing that. But I think I want to go ahead and do fast motion on this, because it might take me a few just to do what I'm doing. So anyway, let's just do the outline before I go on it. Before I go on. And then after I do an outline, I'll go back with a thicker, and this is before I even do the black. Let's just say that. And I'll show you on this, because this part doesn't really have a lot of black as much as the other side. So what I would do is usually I'll go back with something like a 5. This is an 01. I'll go back with a 5, and then I will thicken up the highest part of the circle. So let's just say you want thick to thin, because you want thick and thin, because anything closer, like this hand, would be thinner than the line. The line on this hand would be thinner than this hand. So I'd go back and I would just thicken out the highest part of the circle, whatever circle it is, like that, giving it that thicker look. Now, a lot of this is going to be black, so you're going to lose that thickness, but I'm just showing you how I do it in the beginning. So you're going from a thick back into a thin, and that just gives it that line weight. You don't have to trace, you don't have to follow the whole line, but you can if you want, but I like doing the thick to thin, and it just gives you that more meatier shape. Meatier shape? Meatier shape. So let me show you what I'm doing on this piece of paper. So I have a circle. Let's say that's just a circle. Okay, let's just start with a circle. Take the 005 or your thinnest pen, go around the actual line, and then come back with a thicker pen, and then just, as I said, the highest point of your circle, do it thicker into thin, thicker into thin. Now I know it's supposed to be the whole shadow under the bottom. If the light was coming this way, this would be thin and this would be dark. But you take liberties when you do comics to make something look better by putting the thickness where you put it because you think it looks better. So again, if I had, I don't know, that arm, shoulder, head, neck, shoulder, inner arm, outer arm, chest like that, like this, like this, like this, like that. Again, go back with your thin pen because you have that point. You'll be able to get that detail, and when I do the face, you'll understand what I'm saying about the thin pen. That, chest, and your lats, like that. So you do the whole drawing in that size pen, and then come back, and as I said, the highest point, that's a little bit too much, the highest point of that circle, I do my thicker line. So we come down here, and usually it's thin here, thick down here, thin here, thick down there, but I kind of turn it around sometimes just to give it that more better bulky kind of look. And there are places like the lats and the chest which you always going to make thick. So if this is my line, I'm going to go way thick. Because number one, it is in the shadow, and then you do want your lats to look good. So, and the same thing under the chest. Might not go as thick under the chest, but I will do under the chest, and then kind of thin it out as I come around. Even though this should be the darkest part right here because it's the lowest part, I'll thin that, and then maybe just a little bit of thicker line like that. So if I came in, say if this was dealt like this, I would even make a little, not too much right there because you don't want it bulging out. And then the arm and your collarbone. Same thing with the head. Now I'll do the chin darker. Well, actually I'll do majority of the head thicker, not darker, thicker. Because you do have that shadow under there somehow, and then probably part of the shoulder. Just to give it that thick, thin look. So even if I did this, the bottom part of this will be thicker because it is in shadow, and you have that V here. Now a lot of people will try to do the hatching like you see in this arm here. Let me get a close up so you can see it. Focus, you're not gonna focus. Anyway, there's some hatching here, I'll go over it later. If you do that, two things about hatching. If you don't know how to do it, don't do it, because like I said, I have ruined a number of drawings trying to do hatching. Not hatching, so much hatching, but flaring, or whatever you call when you do something like this. I have ruined a number of pictures. So if you decide to do it, the first thing I would say do is draw your direction. Draw your direction that you wanted to go in, and then you can have it come off and stay in that direction like that. Now the one thing about this is you have to have it going, the body's round. The body's round. So if I did this, so you want to keep your lines going round as well. Because if I did this, let's just say I use this and I just do this flat, and this is what I used to do back in the day, because I didn't know, I would just do straight lines across like that, and it just didn't make the bicep or anything look round. So you'll just kind of go in that round circle on that direction to make it look more round, even though it is flat. And then if you want to go darker, you can go opposite, but you still have to go round like so. But if you're not really sure about doing it, I would stay away from it. Just draw a bunch of drawings that you really don't care about, and then just ink them. Just ink them however you decide to ink them. I mean, you can be serious and say, okay, my light is coming this way, so all of this is going to be light, all of this is going to be dark, this is going to be dark, this is going to be dark, and then darken it. And then if you want to put your hatching, you can do it. Hatching, I don't think this is hatching. I think hatching is when you go both ways, kind of like, and then I think that's more hatching than this, and this is called something, and I do not know what it is. But just remember, you keep your body round. Your biceps are going to go around like this, so you want to keep your hatching. Let's just call it hatching. Let's just keep it. You want to keep it going around in that direction. Same thing if you want to do the chest. Then you want to go from thick to thin. So thick to thin meaning I'll start here and I'll work out thin like so. Versus the other way around. Start here and go to thin. It just really doesn't work as good when you do it that way. Okay, so let's get back to this. As I said, the first thing I want to do is just outline it, the whole thing, with the 0.5, and then I think that's about all I wanted to say for now. So let me do this in fast motion, and then when I finish just the outlines, I'll come back and tell you what I need to tell you. Alright, so those are my basic outer lines. Now, a couple things about inking is that when you do your final pencils, well, start out, you draw light. When you sketch, you draw lightly. I think everybody should know that. But then when you finally find the actual line you want, you can bear down just a little harder. It has to be the line that you want when you bear down, because when you bear down and you try to erase it, it won't work. And now, so the reason you bear down is, I shouldn't have done that on this, is that when you bear down just a little and you go to ink it, that groove that you put in the paper, your pen follows it. So you don't have to really worry too much about your pen going where you don't want it to go. That's providing you're not using a brush. But yeah, that groove that you put in it, it makes it easier for your pen to follow. And I don't use a brush. I'm not that good. I envy those who can, but I use a pen. And it's good to get a set of pens. I'll cover that later on. So right now I have my outer line, as I said. So the next step is to go around and do the black lines, the outer lines. We're not going to color it yet. We're just going to go around and then outline the part that is black or will be black. Now I have an arrow right here, and that's to let me know to leave some room over here, because that is where, if there was light coming from behind him, it would leave that white, or it would leave that space. It wouldn't be solid black, and that's called, if I'm not mistaken, that's called a rim light, because there's light around the rim of the area. What else was I gonna say? Another thing, like the way I have these broken lines here, if I ink them, it would just be little squares like that. But things like that I leave, and I'll leave it for last and just do kind of the hatching like that, just full lines like that, so it won't look so boxy. So again, like this, it's kind of like a rim light, but that's a little more than a rim light. Now, about shadow, where would you put the shadow? As I said, that's one, it's on you, it's your drawing. You could go by exacts, like the light is coming from this side, so you have to put all your shadows on the other side, or you could just kind of like make it up to make it look good. But usually you want to make sure the muscles, the shadow is placed to make the muscles more shapely, like this arm right here. I don't know if I have a rim light on it because my lighting is bad right now, but where I did have the hatching, let me make this a little darker so you can see that. Where I do have the hatching here, like that, hopefully you can see that. I'm not going to do the hatching yet. I'm just going to do that line, as I said, like this, do that line here. And I forgot to say this part would be black if I wanted to blacken it. Let me just use a brush to make it quick. Now once you get your blacks, then I would go and I would ink the hatches, not before. And it's hard to do with a brush. It's just very hard to do with a brush if you don't practice. But if you're drawing every day, just draw, as I say, draw stuff that you really don't care about, that you're going to throw away, and just practice inking. It could be just a cartoon, Bugs Bunny or whoever. Do hatching on Bugs Bunny. But when you draw, do not go out and buy an expensive sketch pad or sketchbook. Buy something cheap. That way you won't be afraid to mess it up or actually draw onto it and then have a picture not coming out right. And then you get more drawing that way. I stated in another video that I have probably about 3 drawing books that I have not used yet, because I'm afraid of it. And that is metal. Like that, okay. So this is the tedious part here. Doing all these shapes, but it's kind of fun when it's time to fill it in black. And if it's done right, then you'll know your drawing is coming out good. Again, right here, that rim light. And if you're not sure, shadow on a body, and I think it's probably why I like Cyclops, because it's uniform. I like characters with dark uniforms and are quiet, like Cyclops, Black Bolt, Batman, Snake Eyes. I think those are my four favorite. It might be another one in there that I'm forgetting about. What was the other guy? And it was in Wildstorm's thing. Backlash. That was when Jim Lee and the rest of the crew started their own thing. I used to like they got, mainly because of the suits. But anywhere you have suction in your costume or your body, that part is going to be black. Now it depends on how much black you want in it. So I could do something like this, cover this whole thing up here, leave a rim light here. This could be black, maybe leave a rim light there, because the shadow's going down here, 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 here. So if I ink that with a good brush, I'll move this just in case, it would look something like this. So wherever the muscle sucks in at is where you would put your black. If you have one of those kind of Black Bolt comic book colored uniforms, leaving a light, so it would be opposite. There would be opposites in your thing. I can't explain that right now, but like the center line should have been black, dark, but when you have something like this, you're kind of opposite at times. I don't want to catch myself because I'm going to ink that, which is going to make it dark again. It's just going to be actually opposite of what I just said to you. And of course, there. And then if you have your obliques here, and maybe just some more dark here, some more black here, some more black there, and you gotta get the point. There's a muscle here, your shoulder here, and then we've already did the arms, and then you can the chest, the hatch, the chest. Thank you. So be here. You can have it here. The muscle comes like this, like that. You can have that here. It could break apart as it goes down. But as I said, it depends on your character, your suit of your character. But anything that goes in like this is going to be black. So let's continue on with this. All right, what am I doing? I'm trying to see because there's so much glare in here. Either my glasses are dirty or this light is just terrible. And when you mess up with inking and black, yeah, you through. As I said, that a lot of times I stopped drawing because of that reason, or gave up inking because I couldn't do it. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was trying to ink, and I had some of these great drawings, and I messed them up, so I stopped inking. But there was no one around to give me the advice to just draw something you really don't care about and then ink it. So if it's messed up, who cares? You never cared about it anyway. You could easily throw it in the trash. So this is why I'm giving you guys this great advice. So that's going to be white inside the uniform to show that it is fabric, and there are a few wrinkles. So we're going to have here with no rim light. And one thing, you have to take your time when you ink because there's no turning back. Now they have white out, which is a great thing, but before, I'm not going to say they didn't, but I didn't know about it. So just take your time when you ink. Which is something I'm not doing for the sake of video time. Got all that, got all that. here. I think I have a little bit there. The arm, which I have hatching here. With a rim light. And that's good when you have black on black, you want that rim light. So if, like this is black and his glove is going to be black, all black, you want to have that little piece of light there to not distinguish or determine, I had the word a second ago, differentiate the two, where the hand is and where the rest of the body is. And that's why I bent his arm up so that I could show you, actually it needs to be, if this was this, and you had this and from this, you would have to have, where's my 5? 5 is dying on me. This is your line, which is pretty thick. It's thicker than the 005. And then you have this. It's the same width. So if this was a hand and it was coming in front of the chest, you would have to make that much thicker. So when you see it, you immediately know that this is closer to you than that. Now, it depends on how thick it is, or it depends on how close it is. It would determine how thick you would have it. Like if this was somebody's face, instance, here you have somebody's face, and right here you have a gun pointed at you, and here's your fist. Which way's the hand? Which thumb is going inside? Okay, yeah. And that one. So here's the rest of your body here. So you would have to, and I'll go small on this one. And what the heck does a gun look like? I don't know. So let's just do detail on the thing, okay? There's a finger going in. Here's the other finger that comes down and around. Like that. So if this is a gun, or is it this is the thumb? If that's a gun and it's pointed at you, yeah, make that gun look good, Brian. Make that gun look good in the hand. You would have to make that thicker, so when you, as soon as a person sees it, he would know that that's like right up in your face. And right away that you can see that the difference between this being close and that being far. It's just something you have to do, learn how to do. Why are you trying to work on this gun, Brian? I don't know. So yeah, but you can't do it on this because it's black on black, which is where you would, as I say, if this was black and the other was black, which one? You would have to leave that little rim light either on, if this was the chest, you'd have to either leave it on the chest or you have to leave it on the hand. So I think in this case, Facebook notice, in this case, I would just leave it, the rim light around the chest and not on the hand so that you can see that it was there. So if that was the hand, you'd be able to see the hand. Even here at the wrist, you want to leave some rim light, and where the elbow and the forearm connect, or the forearm and the bicep tricep connects, you still want to leave some light too. And of course, as I said, this is if you're doing a lot of shadow work, if you have a guy that's in the shadows or whatever, and then if there's a light behind him, then you would have that rim light like that. And you could just hatch that edging right there, like so. So yeah, hopefully you're getting it as we go. Let's finish this up. And you see I have these hatches right here. So what I'll do is I'll cut it right there, and then I'll hatch that later on. Same thing here, I have it here, cut that. This is my rim light to separate the two. This. And as I was putting this in, a lot of it, I just threw it in. There was no rhyme or reason why. So when I'm looking at it now, I'm like, why did I put that there? Or where does that end and where does that begin? So it's just something you're going to have to know when you start throwing your shadow in every which way. Because once you start to paint it in, shall we say, it's either going to look right or very wrong. Okay, I think I'm almost there. Oh, that's black. I think I have some rim light right here. This arm. Rim light right there for whatever reason. It's metal. So what I do is I leave a space. I'll have it like the shadow coming from the end and then not all the way to the back. And then because metal is reflective, so that's just something you're going to have to kind of play with to learn how to do metal. And it just got quiet because I'm trying to turn this paper to see where I had what. One, two. That should have been there. Okay, anyway, I'll make it up as I go. 3. And then I had some glove vein lines in there somewhere. Now right here, at the hand and the chest or stomach, I'm going to need to have that light to show that there is a difference between the two. So I can take it up into that light right there. And then this one, because this will be white right here, I'll take this back. So this white on these bracelets, gauntlets, will break up the white from the black. So I think that is it for this, except for down here again. We'll have that rim light, bring it around, rim light, bring it around, and then my hatching. Since this is square or flat, it does go around. You can do a flat line, and then if you want to, you can take it on around like that. As I said, I usually do my black first before I do that. But since I did that, let's put the black in and see what it's going to look like. This brush is bad. Might be time to bring out a new brush. Like that. And it's probably hard for you guys to see. And then I'll do that first. It looks better when you do the solids first and then come back, because you'll know how thick you want the lines or how dark you want the lines. And then maybe some over here, just something over here for the metal. And then again here, I would have a little thicker lines. this one is going to be black because it's under the shadow. There's a shadow. And then this is going to be black too. So about right here where the shadow starts. All the way. Maybe leaving a gap here and here because there's light right here. So I can leave that gap like there's a light reflecting coming off. So let's do this leg real quick. Did the magic started. It just gets so quiet when I stop talking. This is where you need to buy like several pens, the bees, the brushes. Because if you're doing your whole book, you will go through some pens real quick. And see, by doing this, if I had made a thick line like I did here, on this leg here, it's going to disappear when I ink it with the black when I fill it in. So that's why you don't really worry about it on a black surface with the black line. The problem is when I do a lot of small lines inside black, those little teeny ones, and I start inking, I'll forget that I'm supposed to leave that line white. But I guess that's where whiteout comes in. And see this line right here, there's really no use for that line. I just threw that in there. I don't know why. As I said, I was just drawing some lines in there to give it a little more color. I don't know why I'm sniffling like I'm catching a cold or something. It's because of the sneeze. I only sneeze to heat myself up or to cool myself down. Now, some of you probably don't understand that, but some of you out there is like, I do the same thing. Unless I'm sick. That's the only time I really sneeze. If I'm too hot or too cold. That's called catching a cold, dummy. Not in my case. I'm not pulling this out of range. Now I'll go back over with the small pen and I can fix some lines. As I said, if I wanted to do some type of hatching on this leg, knowing that the leg is round, I wouldn't go crazy trying to do it, but as I said, draw your direction line first, as in I only wanted to come out this far, and then you know where to stop at. You can erase that later. Like that. Actually, if I wanted to keep going, I would need to keep going. And then maybe go the other direction to make it darker at the bottom. Like so. But as I say, when I try to do too much, I screw up. It's like I'm not happy with that. So what I'm going to do is, boom, just cover that up like that. There's only certain places I'll do it, and I don't go too far out with it because I'm not Jim Lee, and I don't understand how to keep going with it or to make it look so great. Now here I'm thickening up that because that's white. It's a white line, and even here there's a rim light. All right, so let's keep going. This is where actual real brush would be good, brush, a dipping brush, but that stuff is messy. And I remember I tried to do it in the beginning, and I would end up dripping ink on my picture. So another reason for me to stop inking. And the only reason I really got back into inking because I couldn't find anybody that would ink my stuff and to make it look good. As I said, I tried this one guy and he just screwed it up and sent it back. And I'll pull those pictures out in a second if I can find them. So I'm thinking I did all this good detailed work on this picture to hand it off to you, and you screw it up and then give me like a, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have time, or whatever it was that he had said. But this was so long ago. So that was my lesson learned right there. I'm going to pay you to screw up something it took me a week or so to draw. All right, here are those pages that I talked about. This one, I started inking because I was just so frustrated that the guy screwed up. So if you look at the pencil detail work that I did, I expected him to take that and make that look a little better. And then he gave me this. And I think he did these and the next one I'm about to show you and sent it back. And I want to say this was maybe, let's say 12 or more page book that I did. And it took him about 3 months or so, and then he sent it back and he said he didn't have time to do it. And I just got frustrated and I said, well, let me ink it myself. So it just made me so mad that the timeline was like really gone and I couldn't, I just lost it. I said, you know what, forget it. I'm not even gonna go anywhere because he screwed up my pages. And again, you see like the detail that I put there. So I'm expecting this guy to do a better job. And then he inked this one too. He inked this top one. And then part of this, I think I tried to re-ink over what he did here and here to make it better. He also did that. And like the pitchfork is crooked. The wood is crooked. I don't know what these little lines are in there. And I think I did this one to kind of try to see what I could do to salvage the whole thing. So yeah. And as I say, when you draw something with just great detail in it, the camera froze for whatever reason, you expect a good job done. But you know, this guy, he screwed me over. So that's why I said, let me start inking myself. If I can draw it and I can lay the shadows down, then I can just follow my lines and then make it better. Okay, so let's get back to our show. So there are things you're gonna have to learn to do yourself. I think that's why professional artists, when they find that right inker, they stay with them. Case in point, Jim Lee again, and Scott Williams. And it was Jim Lee. I had stopped drawing a while. For a while, I would go to these conventions and I would show my stuff and I wouldn't get a bite. So I stopped drawing. I just gave up. I gave up. And it was right around the time Jim Lee started doing the X-Men. I got upset and I was like, I drew just like this guy. And my style was really crazily similar to Jim's. And he got me drawing again because I said, if I can do it, if he can do it, I can get a job. So I started drawing again and kept getting the nose at the convention. So I said, I'm just going to do a book, take a book that he drew and draw it just line for line to show these guys that I can draw just like that too. And it was at that point people started commenting, oh, you're pretty good, you're pretty good. But at some point I was realized, you know, this is not me, my drawing, and I have no idea why he hatched like he hatched. So I said, no, I'll just try to do my own thing. versus if I got a job at Marvel at that time or DC or wherever, and then somebody needed a drawing of somebody in the shadows, and I couldn't really do that pencil hatching for the inker to follow, you know, I get kicked out. And that was like the goal for me, to be able to just draw comics the rest of my life and get paid for it. Or draw, not necessarily comics, but I mean, back in the day, that was the thing, comics. So I gave up on it, and I actually looked for that book. I found the pages that I drew, but I want to find the book to show you guys so you can compare to what I did to what he did. All right, so these are the pages. I looked for the book. It's a Cyberforce book. I think it was Cyberforce versus Wildcats. And I love Cyberforce, and of course, Jim Lee's Wildcats. Love that too. So, as I said, I took the book, I took some pages from it, and I just drew exactly what he did. And as I said, my style was so similar to his that when I finally did show the pages, people started taking notice. And I laminated these, and I'm trying to get it to where the glare, you can see through the glare, or the glare won't interrupt the thing. And of course we have Drifter, and I don't remember this guy's name. It's been a long time since I actually looked at Cyberforce or read those old comics. So yeah, as I said, I quit drawing, and then when Jim Lee came along and started doing X-Men, I got into X-Men, and I was like, that guy's similar to my style. I can do that. So as I said, a lot of people were just rejecting me, and then I said, well, let me just do this, because I had no idea how to do the hatching and how to shade metal and so forth and so on. So a lot of my stuff, I looked at him, and then I kind of mimicked his stuff to learn how to do it. And then from him, some other people that I liked, you know, who inked, and other people who I liked drew the muscles, and I incorporated that into my style. And I actually really need to just get back into my comics. I've been doing YouTube so long that I've been slacking on putting my comics out. So again, back to the show. So I'm going to do some hatching here, just a little bit, to take that point away, because I don't want it so pointy. Just like I'll do a couple here, very small. And I can also, and see, this is where I start doing, I'm like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Don't. If you don't really know, don't try it. Don't try it. Because I was like, oh, that'll work, that one worked, and then I'll try another one, and I'll try another one, and just leave it, which I need to do now, because I'm really not happy with what I did, but I get hungry for inking. All right, so in the face, that is where you would definitely need a sharper pen. So under here, I have like shadow here and here, plus this for the chin. And this little reflection in the glass. Glass, it's metal. Yeah, so make this a little thicker So there is a definite difference between the face and the glass. Fix that. Make the face a little thicker, line weight. That too. And then some of the head. And let me take a look at what I got. A little shadow here, some lines there. This hand is jacked up because it is just jacked up. Some shadow between the gauntlet. The front will catch light. I forgot all about this one down here. So, some light in between, just because it's going to go around, and then like that, and this is just some brushing, like so. So you have your ink picture, and now if you want to come back and try with your hatching, you can, but as I say, you don't want to go too crazy. And I think what does it is if they're too far apart and too high up, then it just looks wrong. So I'm just kind of playing now because I don't like what I did with that, because you have this and nothing else is hatched. So you'd have to go to the side and start hatching sides and so forth. But if you are doing black, if you're doing a black and white book and you really can't afford to do color, grayscale is probably your next bet. So let me get some gray pen. I just want to see if I'm seeing all of this right and show you what I mean by the next best thing. Because I did that in the beginning when I first did my first book. I couldn't afford color and I wasn't great at Photoshop. And then especially doing backgrounds. I could do the foregrounds, but doing background and trees and lights on the trees and so forth and so on, couldn't do it. So I ended up getting some pens to do grayscale. Give me a second if I can find them. Okay, so I bought these. It's a Faber-Castell, and it's shades of gray. And actually I bought 2 packs, but if you can see the difference between the shades, like this is the lightest one, and I think it goes to that one and to that one, and then it goes up. And I think there's actually a black one in there. So if you wanted to do, if you can't afford to do color, I would go with the grays. And let me make sure I've got the lightest one. If I didn't use it all up. I think that's the lightest one. And just kind of go around. Well, you did. This is kind of dark. This is not really the lightest one. Is this more shadow? That's more shadow. I don't know what happened to there was a really light one. All right, so maybe that one died because I said I had 2 sets and I did about 3 or 4 books using those, so it could be dead. But as I say, if you just want to do a grayscale book, it's like the same price. It's not the same price as a color because it's gray. So yeah. And if done right, it looks really good because you can you can go 2 shades, or if I use this color again, it will go darker. So if I put this first coat down and I came back again with a second coat on it, it would actually be darker. So it will look like it is a really great shadow. So let's just say if I did this, and that the lighter one could be his face. Same thing down here. So hopefully you get the point, because it is supposed to be an inking video, not a coloring tutorial. All right, so there you are, my tips on inking for whatever they were worth. Yeah, give that a shot. Follow those steps if you like them. If not, I mean, you can kind of make your own up, but this is how I started inking. And yeah, I've still got some way to go, but I'm kind of happy. As long as I don't try to go crazy with the cross hatching and so forth, I'm kind of happy with what I come up with. So, that being said and done, I guess I will see you guys on the next video. See, I'll sit here and I'll play with this thing all day to just try to make it look a little better. But that's just me. But give it a try, guys. Get you some grayscale pens, versus if you can't do Photoshop, or if you don't have a colorist, get you some pens. You could even get some colorful pens, but practice first. Practice before you start to do your finished picture, so that you won't be too upset if it messes up. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. And I guess I will see you guys in the next video.